Welcome back to the Norfolk Squirreler channel. Starting this video with a quick look at a rat that was on my bird feeder. I'm sitting facing backwards on the toilet, shooting out the bathroom window. I couldn't believe that I missed what appeared to be a slam dunk, so I had a look on slow-mo, and it looks to me like the pellet's heading straight for the rat's head, and it just turned away at the last minute. Just goes to show that nothing is certain in this life. I've just bought a Pulsar Axion XQ38 thermal spotter. This was its first outing. I'm impressed with it. It certainly showed up a lot of rats that I wouldn't normally have seen using the digital. But the one thing I did find was that trying to manhandle a tripod, a gun and a spotter at the same time is pretty much impossible. To make life easier, I've ordered a saddle from N8 Vision, which will mount to my Primos Gen 3 sticks. I'll be able to then sit the gun into the saddle and be basically hands-free for when I want to use the spotter. That should make life a lot easier. This initial scan around the property showed up a lot more rats than I'd expected to see. The weather had been appalling and there had been an awful lot of rain. What the scan doesn't show is just how much standing water there is, which came as a bit of a surprise when I walked down the pathway in the dark. These images from the spotter are a bit grainier than I would have expected them to be, but this turns out to be because there's a lot of moisture in the air. When I've used the spotter watching the deer in my back garden on perfect nights, the images are absolutely crystal clear. Now for what you've all been waiting for, rat action. You can see the water here on the footpath that the spotter didn't show up. It's about 2 inches deep. This is just inside the pen to the left of where I shot the first rat. This proved to be a little bit of a hot spot. I suspect that there's a nest underneath the little chicken coop, and the ground's slightly higher here, so it must be a bit drier. Because the fencing was partially obscuring the rat's head, I decided to go for a heart and lung shot. The rat moved off to the right after I hit it, but promptly expired just around the corner. Well, that was a satisfying double, particularly the first rat that just folded straight up. The second rat was bleeding heavily and then kicked off, disappearing behind the little chicken coop there. But I didn't manage to find it afterwards, but I suspect it just sank beneath the surface of the standing water, which was 4 or 5 inches deep at that point. As I was scanning around after shooting the double, I spotted that the first rat that I shot was still moving, so I shot it again just to finish it off. If I'd remembered to reload, that might not have been a missed opportunity. Smallholder said there are a lot of rats around this pen, but this was the only one I saw, and I wouldn't have seen that without the thermal spotter. Always satisfying when you successfully thread a pellet through the fence and through the undergrowth to get your rat. This rat wasn't moving as I would normally expect them to, but it wasn't until later that I realised that it was actually moving across 4 inches of water, balancing on the loose hay that was floating on top, so it wasn't surprising really. Good solid shot on the first rat there, but I was very surprised when the second one dashed back in, but unfortunately I pulled the shot and missed it over the top. Must have been that rat's lucky night. That stalk deflected the pellet. Heard the pellet clip the fence on that one, so unfortunately another miss. Too much water vapour in the air, so the laser rangefinder wouldn't give a reading. Unfortunately, I estimated the range wrong, so I didn't need to give it any holdover, so all that happened was the pellet just skimmed over the top of its head. Didn't make the same mistake twice. Bowled this one over, no problem. Change the reticle over to yellow as it seemed to be slightly clearer. That was rat number 4 from that little hotspot. It's always hard to tell if you hit a rat like that, but this one was definitely down, and I picked it up at the end of the evening. shot through 2 layers of overlapping Harris fencing. That was the last rat of the session, another very satisfying one. In total I shot 16 rats, didn't get them all on camera as I kept forgetting to press record. I managed to pick up 8 of them. Some of them I could see, but there was just too much water in the way. Others, the cannibals had been out.